In the early 2000s, Lincoln did something nobody asked for. It took everything that made a Navigator luxurious, put it on an F-150 crew cab, and then said, "Let's make the bed into a coffin for your golf clubs." This is the Lincoln Blackwood, the truck that asked, "Do you want wood trim on your tailgate?" and then delivered. Welcome to Auto Chatter, where facts, opinion, and speculation will be given. Leave a like if you enjoyed this one, please. Check out the new hype feature, if you would, too, to grab the algorithm's attention more, and consider subscribing if you haven't yet. Now, let us begin. The Blackwood began life as a concept that got a surprising amount of applause when it went public. Lincoln showed the idea in 1999, and Ford said, "Hey, we might be onto something here with a pickup." I mean, the Navigator was a hit and beat their rival Cadillac with this concept for a luxury SUV. Both are still around today. Anyway, production was approved, but reality hit. The exotic wood panels and specialized composite bed were expensive that the concept had, and the supplier chain was fussy. Delays and part sourcing headaches slowed things down. Lincoln originally planned a limited boutique run, but that dream clashed with pickup buyers' needs. So why did Lincoln make a luxury pickup with a sealed, shallow bed? Two reasons: prestige and margin. Lincoln hoped to sell a luxury lifestyle pickup, buyers who wanted Cadillac or Mercedes level interiors but with a truck posture. It was meant to appeal to suburban executives who liked the idea of a truck but didn't actually want to haul anything. Also, higher profit per unit if it sold. Out back was a 4-foot 8-inch composite cargo box trimmed in simulated African wedgewood with aluminum strakes. A permanently mounted power tonneau cover that opened via a 50-50 hinged door, so no tailgate. I'm sure this was done because an average person would have trouble getting anything out of the front of the bed otherwise with a conventional tailgate. Up front would be very Navigator-ish front clip. The bed was basically a watertight trunk, and I think even Lincoln referred to it more as a trunk than a bed. It was elegant, but also functionality, a suitcase. Nice trunk to be thrown into if a mafia guy tossed you in there, though. They also were known for problems, so if you seek one out, make sure the giant trunk operates correctly. It's not like Advance Auto will carry parts for it. Under the hood lurked Lincoln's 5.4-liter Intech dual overhead cam V8, same as the Navigators, making about 300 horsepower to 355 pounds of torque. Rear-wheel drive only, 4-speed automatic. The crew cab was shared with the F-150 Super Crew, and a suspension that was basically F-152 but had air springs, more like you would see on a town car in the back. Towing and payload were reasonable for the era. I read the decision to be rear-wheel drive only was to keep the ride height down. If the Blackwood were a movie character, it'd be the guy who wears loafers to a mud derby. It showed up at a moment when SUVs and luxury crossovers were becoming status symbols. Think the early 2000s hip-hop videos that made Escalades famous, and suburban executives who wanted a truck image without the grime. And speaking of Escalades, let's meet the Blackwood's biggest rival, the Cadillac Escalade EXT. This was Caddy's answer to Lux trucks, and it was meatier and more truck-friendly. The EXT was based on the Avalanche, and arrived with a big pushrod 6-liter V8, making roughly 345 horsepower and about 380 pounds of torque. And it had a more usable pickup bed. It even shared the Avalanche's bed extender trick into the rear seat area. Pricing landed in the high $40,000 range, which put it in similar territory to Lincoln's Premier pickup, but Cadillac's approach kept the bed usable. Oh, and you could get it with 4-wheel drive too, and in different colors. Henry Ford once famously said of the Model T that you could get it in any color you want so long as it was black. It appeared that Lincoln was trying to keep that tradition alive with the Blackwood. Lincoln priced the Blackwood like a premium sedan with a trunk that you couldn't put a surfboard in. The original sticker was about $52,000 to $54,000 new, So we're talking in the 90s, mid 90,000 range today. That was an expensive proposition for what turned out to be a one-year-only niche truck. Now, for the amount of coin it demanded, it was pretty loaded up. Leather, hole in the roof, power pedals, side airbags, the works, when we're talking 2002. The only option was a voice-activated cell phone and GPS navigation system. Or if you ordered a Neiman Marcus edition that was limited to 50 units, you got some Neiman Marcus interior upgrades, a DVD entertainment system, and a cooler, warmer compartment for snacks. These lucky folks paid almost $59,000 for their country club pickup, which would be over $106,000 in 2025. They did sell out in less than a day, though. As far as sales for the non-Neiman Marcus versions, how many people bought that idea? Well, not many. Official industry trackers show production and sales in the low thousands. Several sources report about 3,356 were sold, with the model produced essentially only for the 2002 model year, before Lincoln moved on to other niche truck experiments like the Mark LT later. Some production tallies and months of production numbers vary slightly between registries, but the takeaway is it was rare and it didn't fly off dealers' lots. That makes the Blackwood one of Ford's shortest-run vehicles ever, if not the shortest. Lincoln didn't plan to sell hundreds of thousands of them, but they really thought 18,000 a year was doable prior to launch. And this leads us to a little speculation on why it failed. The one-sentence diagnosis was that it was a beautiful idea, terrible execution for the market. And these are some reasons why I think was why. One, function versus form. The bed was pretty, but it wasn't pretty useful. A pickup buyer wants a bed. A luxury buyer wants a closed trunk. The Blackwood tried to be both and pleased neither. Number 2, price versus value. At $52,000 to $54,000, buyers could get a Navigator or that Escalade EXT for similar money, and the Escalade EXT just offered more if having a bed was your thing. Number 3, the timing and market fit. The early 2000s luxury truck trend favored conspicuous, usable SUVs, not sealed, show-only beds. Glamour buyers preferred full-size Escalades or Navigators, and truck buyers wanted utility. It wasn't like a King Ranch F-150 was seen as a parts delivery truck. Number 4, limited production and supply issues. The specialized cargo box supplier problems and the planned low-volume production made parts pricey and constrained availability, which limited marketing momentum and dealer enthusiasm. The result? Dealers discounted heavily, word of mouth evaporated, and Lincoln quietly pivoted, later trying to sell the Mark LT to reach truck buyers. The Mark LT swung the other direction hard, so much so potential buyers saw it as an F-150 with a different grille and a higher price. And that really was all it was. You didn't even get an engine upgrade an F-150 couldn't get as an option. But to be fair, it wasn't all that much more than, say, a King Ranch version when it was available. It did sell better and lasted more than one model year at least, but I wouldn't consider the Mark LT a success. More like it didn't fail as bad. Except in Mexico. Apparently these sold very well there, and lived on for years after. Even got a second generation that didn't arrive stateside. It would seem, even through today, that most folks in the market for luxury with a bed have no problem buying one with a mainstream Chevy, GMC, Ford, Ram, or Toyota badge on the grille. Oddly, rarity gave the Blackwood a second life. Collectors and weird car fans now like it for being unapologetically strange. You can find them cheapish on the used car market sometimes, but remember, parts for the faux wood bed and trim aren't as common as F-150 sheet metal. And don't forget about that potentially troublesome power trunk. The Lincoln Blackwood is a gorgeous theatrical misstep. The kind of product that teaches the auto industry an important lesson. You can't sell aspiration when it removes function. It's also an absolute gem for collectors and anyone who enjoys the kind of bold, slightly ridiculous idea only Detroit could build, like a Chevy SSR2 for example. Anyway, this has been my Blackwood chatter, and I do hope you liked it. Until next time, I'll be keeping the headlights on for you, and chatter out.